Try to recollect it what we had it yesterday. Sorry. Yeah, the yesterday which we are understanding about Terraform, some concepts. Yes, like the overall, if you just conclude it, Terraform 4 concepts are the important. So we are going to sorry, we are going to use it the Terraform to implement any kind of the resources like infrastructure as a code point of view. If you are using the Terraform, make sure about it, the which provider, the first provider and defining that and installing the plugins of the provider, then identifying the resource, then that resource related inputs and outputs. Inputs which we can say thus like arguments of the resource, and outputs which we can say that attributes of that resource. That's we can find it from the documentation. That is yes, like the argument reference and as well as attribute reference. But how do we define this? The variables, that is a variable and variable name, and we have the data types as well as string or the numeric or that is number. The string or number or that we have like some other option that is a boolean, list, set, the map. Yeah, there are the different the types of the data types which we can define it the while using the variables. And coming to this, the once the variables have been defined, then we are trying to understand outputs as well as yes, outputs. Yeah, once resource has been created, resource related, the any like information or the properties if would like to get into that information values, then we can use it output and output variable name and a value. Yes, values which we can value which we can define it. That is reading from the resources attributes, and we can use it as an output of it. Yeah, so there are some points which we're trying to understand it from that yes, the Terraform section, and it has been given that like one more detailed the course on it. Yes, continue with that the course, so that would be helpful to get it a more confidence on the Terraform. That is advanced like yeah, the different concepts are there, the module concepts, workspace concepts, and how to manage the backend of the Terraform within that S3 bucket, and as well as how do we define the locking session on the Terraform. The only one user can apply the configuration changes. Yeah, there are like a different other concepts with from the project complete from the scratch onwards with VPCs. How do we use the Terraform to launch that complete project, and how do we invoke that project, the Terraform scripts from the Jenkins. But Jenkins, they don't look it now, but Jenkins, once it has been discussed, you can continue with that one as well as. Yeah, this was topic the which we had it in the last 2 or 3 sections about that infrastructure as a code. So whatever we are learning that um, the AWS console management related resources. So how do we write as a code? Initially in the demo sections, we are trying to understand it. We should write infrastructure as a code, that is launching the virtual machines, or the defining that the volumes, defining that the networks, or defining that yes, about virtual machines which are required. We should able to write as a code. So that is one of the solution, the Terraform. Yeah, so that was topic, but how do we use the Terraform in the CI/CD process? That will come back in the DevOps process. But for the timing understanding, yes, if you would like to create one resource or set of resources which are required for that environment or for the project, using the Terraform, how do we implement it? The Terraform scripts, and with the variables and providers and resources and outputs. Yeah, that's about the concepts on the Terraform. Before moving to the today, we try to understand it. The Vagrant, one small concept which is there, one small utility or tool we can say. The how you can quickly launch the virtual machines using Vagrant. Yeah, before starting, any queries, questions from the previous sections, or yes, the previous one, the from the AWS or the Linux or the Shell, the overall. I mean, just to keep on a review about it. You have the more time is nothing but yes, just to spend it, go back to the previous sections which it was discussed, and try to recollect it, those commands point of view, scripting, which we discussed, especially main concepts about the variables, about special variables, about for loops, how do we write it, if conditions, how do you write it, what are the different operators are available from that, the shell scripting while defining that if conditions, and what is a function, and what are like exit statuses codes, and yes, yeah, so yeah, the for loops, while loops, syntaxes, yeah, so all these concepts like just to have it, that would be keep on recollect it, keep on recollect it, then only the we can yes, the continue, and we can make it successful in that journey. Yeah, fine. So that's about any queries before moving to that the Vagrant, one small concept or tool from the DevOps to understand it. Anyone started about the Terraform that course? Okay. Yeah, the project one completion that is a pending, and try to start the Terraform. And yesterday it was mentioned one more concept. Yeah, good. One more concept that was with the CI/CD initial demo classes, whatever we had it. Try to recollect it and come back. So for or by Monday, so just try to complete the CI/CD and the project. And whenever you have the time, daily 1 hour, 1.5 hour, try to spend on the Terraform. That will be helpful as a revisions and learning that new concepts on the Terraform. That's course. Yeah, the fine. Let's talk it now. The what is Vagrant and how does the Vagrant is going to helpful in the infrastructure as a DevOps engineer. Why we should know the Vagrant tool? Yeah, but this is optional tool actually. But anyway, we got the some time. Anyway, you are parallelly continuing those yeah, the project and all the things. Yes, let's have it this Vagrant tool also. That will be helpful for us definitely. The whenever we are working with that, the quickly to launch the virtual machine on the virtualization software. So let me know some inputs from all of you. The before going to start is what is Vagrant. So what are the virtualization software you have used to launch the virtual machine? What is the virtualization software you have used to launch the virtual machines? Okay. Oh, have you worked with that Vagrant? Which one you are using? That's a Vagrant is not virtualization software. If you just talk at that, the Vagrant is not the virtualization software. Okay, let me draw one diagram. So then that would be helpful. Maybe so. Let me use that. The paint. Paint is not there. Let me start it. So you have this the Windows laptop, right? So you have the Windows laptop, and this Windows laptop is having all the hardware resources. Yes, some sort of Yeah, the RAM it contains, and as well as yeah, the disk, the hard disk, which has been yeah, that is already defined or attached. And then if you just talk it some more resources, yes, which we have the core process units, the CPUs, and the processor is available. Yeah, the processor CPU, that's almost the same. Yeah, there are some hardware resources the which we are using, and we have installed as the Windows on top of this hardware, right? If you just think it about your laptop, yeah, the laptop you bought it, and initially whenever you bought it, you got this the Windows the software, but Windows software you got it is nothing but, yes, that is that is OS layer, on the which we can say that, yes, that's the Windows 10 which we have installed on top of these hardware resources. And this Windows layer is helping as a user interface, it is providing on the system to interact with the back end all these resources. As we know that the kernel systems or the boot file system, they're all helping about it to interact with the back end hardware resources. But now we have launched only Windows 10, but I need to have that on this same Windows 10, the Ubuntu system, or like a CentOS system, some Linux operating system, I need it, or Windows, another flavor of the system that I need it. So is it possible to launch it on the same the Windows, like one more OS? Is it possible or not? Yeah, that's possible. But what we need to do is, so we need to install the hypervisor layer, right? Which is going to helpful that it is like, as we can say that the virtualization layer is required. So which we have those different approaches. We can say that like a hypervisor, or we can say this virtualization softwares. So this virtualization layer is required. Yeah, so if you need that, the another the OS platforms on the same hardware if you would like to run it, so you cannot directly run it on the Windows. So one more Linux system or one more Windows we have. Even that on the Windows also we have this internal development mode. If you go to that, yes, we can define that like launching the parallel. Launching this one more OS. But the concept of how it is going to work it is on this Windows, if you need that any Ubuntu or any additional OS layers, OS you are launching is nothing but all these resources required. So, but Windows 10, which is directly the launched on these hardware resources. But if you would like to launch it directly, the one more OS on these hardware resources, so that is a parallel boot ups. We have the concept. So initially in 2000 and before this virtualization concept, the parallel boot up. That means on that system, Windows 10 you can log in, or you can log in that Linux system. So either only one system or only one OS you can use it. You cannot use it multiple OSs on the same hardware resources. That was before 2000. But once the virtualization has been, the concept has been invented, so we can launch it that the multiple the OS layers are that like guest OSs we can say, or virtual machines we can say. So multiple virtual machines we can launch it on the same like yeah, we have this different portable different types of that the virtualization concepts, that is which we can say the bare metal or host based, but this one is a host based. Don't think that too much on it, but simple. Yes, these resources like here we have the something 8 GB and some core process units are available, something 512 GB disk is available. But all these resources using that, instead of launching that's only one OS, I would like to use it these resources for multiple OSs. The OS 1, OS 2, OS 3, like that. So how do you do that? Yeah, you know already this is not that new concept. So here we can install the virtualization software, that is a VMware or VirtualBox. Yeah, so these are all like virtualization softwares, or we have the bare metal virtualization softwares also, Xen, KVM, which we can use it. Yeah, these are all direct, like without using one more OS layer. You can directly install that on the hardware itself, the virtualization layer. There's a bare metal type of the virtualizations, which we can say that. The VMware is having vSphere, like where you can use it on the bare metal kind of the virtualization software. Xen servers or KVMs. There are like a different softwares which are available, which you can launch it or which you can virtualize it directly on the hardware resources itself. But about our Windows wise or about our laptop wise, if we just talk it, we are using host based virtualization software. Host based. Yes, we have those like Windows 10, which is running on these hardware resources. And on these Windows, we are installing that virtualization software. That's a VMware or VirtualBox. And using these virtualization softwares, yes, we can share or we can virtualize it virtual. That is, yes, somewhere physically it is there, but which you can take it virtually and you can assign to that the multiple guest OSs. So this is the guest OS, the one guest OS 2. So like this, on the base of the resources, hardware resources which are available, multiple OSs which we can launch at that. But they're all backend going to share it like all these hardware resources through this virtualization concept. So the virtualization softwares on this, the host based, this is the host based the virtualization we can say. The types we have this total two. One is bare metal, directly installing the virtualization software on the hardware itself, that is vSphere, the Xen, KVM. These are all the different products which are available in the market. But whatever we are talking about it is the host-based, the virtualization concept. And here, so what are like virtualization softwares we can use it? The VMware or the VirtualBox. VirtualBox, that is from Oracle product, and VMware, that is from the VMware itself. Yeah, the VMware, the VirtualBox. There are all the like, softwares we can use it, and we can launch that the guest OS layer. Guest OS is on the base of the resources capacity point of view. We can distribute the resources into the different OSs. Yeah, this is a concept. The overall about how do we go ahead like launching the virtual machines on the virtualization software. Already you know about it. How do we use that VMware? But the guest OS to launch it. So what are the configuration or what are the inputs that is required? Anyone can give us inputs if you'd like to launch it. The one virtual machine on about your Windows. What are the softwares you need to install it? So what are the main configuration that you need to do? Or what are the inputs that is required? VMware or VirtualBox you need to install it. Then what is another important input is ISO image is required, right? Yeah, main thing is okay, that is how much RAM you are going to allocate it to about your OSs, that is later story. If the RAM is required 2 GB or 1 GB, that is on the base of the service which you are planning to launch it on this guest OS, then you can share the resources. Suppose here I am planning to install the database is nothing but maybe 2 GB, the at least that is required. Or if I'm launching the Tomcat, enough 1 GB is enough for me. Or if you're launching the HTTP service, maybe 1 GB is enough. But if I'm launching that something Sonar QBS, maybe that is required the 2 GB. That is on the base of the service, and on the service that's application, the loading and application resource point of view, you can share that these are hardware resources to the OS machines, the guest OSs or virtual machines. That is a type of instance which we can say in our EC2 technology. But if you'd like to launch it on OS, the virtual machine, on the virtualization software is the first you need to have the virtualization software, that is a VMware, and another input is ISO image. But ISO image, if you just talk it like maybe you are worked with this like CentOS 8, right? So what is the size of the ISO image? Anyone can remember that size of the ISO image which you are using to launch that virtual machine on virtualization software, that's VMware? That is in the GBs, right? Almost like a 4.5 GB that is available, that ISO image. But if you have extracted this one, which is going to have this around 8 GB, 9 GB size between that. So the 9 GB capacity of this ISO image and VMware, you need to install it. Yes, that's fine. And if you just think it like Windows, whatever the system which you are using, that Windows also has to support it, the virtualizations to work it, right? The virtualization to enable it. Yes, you need to enable that at a boot file system level. The virtualizations, yeah, the virtualization, we have one property. Yes, that's property we need to enable it. If you remember that, that is OS level support. That is to share the hardware resources to that through the virtualization software to these virtual machines. Yes, OS also has to support it, the host OS. This one we can say host OS. Windows 10 is about host OS. And what all the virtual machines you are launching, those virtual machines we can say guest OS or virtual machine or virtual server. Yeah, the VMware and with the ISO image. And once you have installed the VMware and downloaded that ISO image, then what you are doing is you are opening that VMware and you are loading that ISO image. Then you are defining that the file systems. Then you are adding about it users. Then you are defining that, yes, like the networks which are required. Yes, with all that configuration, then finally we are launching the virtual machine. Manually, you are doing that, right? You are doing manually, or is it automation approach? Yeah, you are doing manually. Just a minute, guys. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so manually we were doing this. You are installing the VMware. Definitely, the VMware has to be installed. That is one-time activity that's required. And ISO image. Yes, you need to have that ISO image. Yes, download it and extract it and keep it on the system where you are planning to launch the virtual machine. Definitely, these two inputs required. But launching the virtual machine or terminating the virtual machine from the virtualization software or starting stopping of that virtual machine once it has been launched. So we are doing this everything manually. But instead of doing the manually, so what is that the one more software which we can use it to manage it? These virtual machines on this virtualization software. That is the Vagrant is one software. Yeah, Vagrant we can say. So this is not the virtualization software. This, I don't think that this is a virtualization software. This is not the virtualization. But on this virtualization software, what are the ISO images which we are using to launch the virtual machine? those launching or starting, stopping, or terminating, that means life cycle activities of the virtual machine, we can automate with Vagrant. So with a simple one command, you can launch the virtual machine, and simple with another command, you can terminate the virtual machine. Or one command, you can start the virtual machine, or another command, you can stop the virtual machine. Yeah, so that's the beauty of this Vagrant. So this is the management activities of that the OSS, that's the virtual machines. To manage it on the virtualization software, we can use it this. But if you are using the Vagrant, then we don't use it normal ISO images. So which are having the 3 GB, 4 GB downloading and using about it, no. So we don't use it that. So what is the one more concept which we use it is, or one more is the input which is required for that says Vagrant box. So Vagrant box is nothing but indirectly it is like as a ISO image. Yeah, we don't use it to normal ISO images, and we have thus the Vagrant itself is providing that the ISO images, if you need the CentOS 8, or if you need the CentOS 7, or Ubuntu, or Windows, or yes, Linux, which flavors that you need it, that you can find it, the Vagrant box. And with that Vagrant box, you can launch it the virtual machines on this virtualization software automatic way. Yeah, so that's the beauty of this tool. And this Vagrant tool is not the solution for the production. Remember that. This is not the solution for the production. So which we can use it for the development environments. Yeah, suppose or R&D environment. Suppose in the R&D environment, you need to have this one CentOS 7 system. So definitely, yes, installing the virtualization software and then downloading ISO image and launching that or terminating manually doing, there's some additional effort is required. But if suppose yes, like the same virtualization or the same OS machine, virtual machine, you need to create on this 10 machine, 10 systems. Then how do you do that with the same configuration of it? So manually going to that each machine and is launching the virtual machine, that takes more time. But here with the Vagrant, what we can do is we can define one file, that's a Vagrant file. What is that image that is required? That is a Vagrant box. And what is the network interface is required? What is like synchronization mechanism, provisioning concepts. So with all that, we can define one Vagrant file, and that Vagrant file you can copy to all the systems, and you can use a single command to launch the virtual machines on the different systems. Yeah, this is the automation solution. But to use this, yeah, the Vagrant to use it. So what are the software that we need to have it is, yes, you need to have the virtualization software on that virtual machine. I mean on that as the laptop. If you just talk it on the host OS machine. Where the host OS here we are talking the Windows 10, or you can have this if you have the Mac system, doesn't matter that you can have it on the Mac also. The Vagrant you can install it, or if you have this Linux distribution, yes, on the Linux also you can install the Vagrant and you can do that launching the virtual machines. So any reason for not using the Vagrant for the production? So this is, I mean, Vagrant is a solution that is automation which is helping. But in the live environment, what do we do that says in the production environments, we don't go for the host-based the virtualization softwares. We don't use it. Type 2 kind of the virtualization software. So we use it in the live environment or the production environment. Type 1 virtualization software, that is Xen or KVM servers or VMware vSphere. So that is on the hardware resources itself, we will install that or we use it virtualization software. But Vagrant is not supporting that feature. The Vagrant is supporting that the host-based virtualization software. That means you need to have the VMware or the VirtualBox. So this is the type 2 based virtualization software it is supporting. Yeah, the type 1 is bare metal directly on the hardware. Yes. So it is not supporting for the type 2, sorry, type 1, the Vagrant. That's why we don't use it normally in the production environments. Got the point? Yeah, R&D environments and the development environments, we use that, the virtual machines launching with the Vagrant. But what are the main softwares that is required? Yes, you need to have the VMware or VirtualBox. Then you need to install the Vagrant. And you need to identify that which Vagrant box, that means which ISV image that do you want to use it to launch the virtual machine. There are the three main inputs that is required to manage that virtual machine on this virtualization software using the Vagrant. And additional one more software which is recommended is Git Bash. So especially if you are working this on the Windows 10, instead of using the command prompt, that we can use it SSH based to the terminal or client, that is a Git Bash, to connect to these virtual machines or to access it. Yes, that's Git Bash is recommended. The one more software. Yeah, these are all the softwares that is recommended to install it. Normally you are going to use it VMware ISP image. But what we are talking about it, the Vagrant, yes, VMware you can use it, but VMware on the VMware, the Vagrant, on the open source VMware, you cannot use that Vagrant. Vagrant is not supporting the VMware. So you need to have that, the licensed version from the VMware to use the Vagrant. So which is that like one license cost from the VMware, around $80. So recommended is Vagrant whenever we are using, and which is supporting that VirtualBox. VirtualBox open source one, you can use it, and Vagrant you can install it, and you can manage that virtual machines on the VirtualBox. But you can manage that virtual machines on the VMware also. VMware open source, you cannot use it that. Yeah, that is license version is required VMware. So that's point of view, like what is the software I'm going to use it is VirtualBox, that is Oracle product. Then Vagrant install it on the system. Then Git Bash also install it on the system. Then go for the side identifying that which do you need to launch it, that's like Ubuntu, or do you want to launch it that CentOS, which one do you want to launch it? Identify this Vagrant box and use that Vagrant box to launch the virtual machine on this virtual box. So total the switch we are talking about it, 3 softwares install it, and finally identify that ISP image to launch the virtual machine. So I have installed the virtual box on your system. VMware don't use it with Vagrant. VMware open source one, it doesn't support it. So you need to have the licensed version. That much is not required. So go for this VirtualBox use it, and then Vagrant, and launch that the virtual machines on the VirtualBox using Vagrant. Are you clear on these points? Are you following the terminologies? So first, what is the software that's required? Yes, what is the software that's required is, so let's go for this VirtualBox. Yeah, so VirtualBox, download it. Yeah, downloads Oracle VMware VirtualBox. So if you go to this section, and here you can see this like VirtualBox latest version, which is supporting 6.134. If it is the Windows based system, Windows based host system, then this is the software, you can download it. That means if you would like to plan it to launch the virtual machine on the Windows host-based machine, then you can install you can download this virtual box. Or OS X, this is for the Mac OS. And the Linux distribution, you are planning to launch that the virtual machines on the Linux itself. Then if it is the Linux distribution, about your host OS is the Linux OS, then you can use it Linux distribution or Solaris. So there are the different types of the packages. Yes, we are using the Windows. Then you can download this software, Windows host. So which will be downloaded that's the exe file. And once it has been downloaded .exe, so go to the download section and just start that .exe file. So do you see the screen? Is it visible? The installation file. Yeah, do you see the screen now? Is it visible? Okay, so yeah, so once this has been downloaded, just go for this, click on that like a next and the next options. So there is no big deal installing the software. So go to the next and create a start menu entries, create a shortcut on the desktop if you need it. What are these options? Then you can choose it or unchoose it. Then go for the next and install it. But in my laptop that's already installed, I'm going to use the installed one, instead of doing this new one. Yeah, so in your system, so if it is not installed, then download this .exe file and go for this, click on the next and complete it. So once installation has been completed, yes, that's the VirtualBox has been installed. Then if you go to this about your search icon and if you search for this VirtualBox, yeah, Oracle VM VirtualBox, you can go to the start menu and you can open this about your VirtualBox manager. Yeah, whenever you start it, by default here everything there is a blank, so you don't see this like any virtual machine, because in my on my system, so it is having so many virtual machines. Just ignore it. But whenever you launch it the first time, so we don't see that the any virtual machines here. But you don't need to work it here. So we are going to work with the managing all these virtual machines. Suppose here you see that I have launched almost 7 or 8 virtual machines. But how I do launch that? I don't go for this work, open this and create a new and defining the name of this virtual machine, then which type of is that, then click on the next and loading the ISO image, then going for the next and defining that the file systems and the users. So we don't want to do all the things. So just one time install this VirtualBox and forget about it. The remaining store, just to close this one, which is no more required. Okay, that is the first software, the VirtualBox. And the second software, what is that's required is, let's go for downloading for Vagrant. So this is to manage the virtual machine on that VirtualBox. Yeah, the VirtualBox we have installed. Now you can download ISO image and you can use it to launch the virtual machine. But we are not going to use that the ISO images concept here. We are going to talk it that the HashCorp, who is the vendor, Terraform, which we discussed, the HashCorp. A same vendor, he is giving this the Vagrant, and here you can download the Vagrant. Yes, about your host OS is the Windows, then Windows based Vagrant you can download it. 64, which one is that? Or if you are planning to manage that virtual box which we have already installed, so that is on the Mac OS. Yes, the Mac OS of the Vagrant you can find it, and you can use this command to install the Vagrant on the Mac OS. Or if it is the Linux or Debian based, you can find these commands, and you can run these commands to install Vagrant if it is Linux, that is Linux or Debian or CentOS based operating systems. But we are using that Windows, so you can download this AMD64 file as a 64-bit version. This is also MSI file. Download it and start this one. Go for this, click next, 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 and finish that. So first one is use the VirtualBox. VMware 686 is the 32-bit processor. Yeah, don't use that for, this Vagrant for VMware, that doesn't support it. So use that VirtualBox. Yeah, now this file has been downloaded. Let's open this file. And this is going to, yes, like, the same options. The click on the next, 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 and the install it. There is no big deal on this Vagrant setup. Yes, it is verifying the space requirements. So it's taking the time. Yeah, this is the second software. The download it and install it. And once that's with these two softwares have been done, so what is the third software which you can use it? You can use it mobile XTEM also. That's fine. Like already we were talking about the mobile XTEM, right? As a SSH client to use it that. So once the virtual machine is launched on the virtual box, if you'd like to access that or if you'd like to connect it, we need to have that SSH client for it. Like normally, which we use is the PuTTY or mobile XTEM. But Vagrant machines to manage it. So what is the recommended tool is? That is a git bash tool. Yeah, so now it is prompting this next. Yeah, accept the terms and go for the next and specify where you want to install it. And go for the next and complete it that. Yeah, this is the installation of the Vagrant. Is the first virtual box, then Vagrant. So what this Vagrant is already installed on my system. I don't want to install it. Let me cancel this. Yeah, that is the second software. And what is the third software and recommended? If you are comfortable with the PuTTY, yes, you can use the PuTTY. But one more beauty tool which we have this is on the Windows system. If you would like to run it, the Linux commands, that is git bash. Yes, on the Windows system to use the Linux terminal. Linux commands to run it, basic Linux commands, not the extension of that. So the file system to access on the Windows system itself, you can use it, the Linux terminal, that is git bash. Yeah, the gitscm.com is the official site, and you can go to this site and you can download. Already I was talking the software, right? So maybe whatever it is, doesn't matter that. Yeah, so let's go for downloading this for Windows and install the git bash. Yeah, these are three softwares have it on the Windows. The first one is VirtualBox, second one is Vagrant, and third one is git bash. Yeah, once these three softwares have been installed, I mean, this one you can do downloading and just this is the MSA file, go for the next and finish it. This is also straightforward. There is no big deal on this Git bash installation. Git bash you are installing is nothing but total 3 softwares you are installing on the Windows. Normally, if you just talk it. So Git bash, that's you can use it for the 3 kind of operations. What you can do with the Git bash is you can use it Linux terminal on the Windows. You can use it as a Linux terminal, and we can use it this as a SH client to connect to run that SH commands to connect to the remote systems or to log into that remote systems. We can use it as a SH client. And third one is this is the Git software. Like next in that DevOps tools, we are going to talk at the Git one of the tool. That Git software, if you'd like to use it, yes, that's a Git software. How to install the Git on the Windows? Download the Git bash and install it. Yeah, these are 3 benefits we can have it with Git bash. So Linux terminal, SH client wise, we can use it. And whenever we install the Git bash, we get it the Git software on that system as well as where we can run the Git commands. But what are those Git commands? That will come back later. There are the 3 advantages by using or by installing this software. Yeah, this is one of the tool which we should have it in our the Windows systems easily, like asking about SH commands point of install the putty. Yes, we can use it this tool itself. Fine. That's the 3 softwares. Install it. Yes. Now, how do we verify that? Yes, VirtualBox already we have opened and we are observing that. But how do we check it if Vagrant is installed or not? And all this is. So you can, once the Git bash has been installed, search for that in your search window. Yeah, you can use the search window. Go for those like searching for the Git. Yeah, the Git bash software. So this is icon which is going to helpful as a Git bash software, and you can just start this Git bash. Yes, this is a terminal, the where we can use it as a Linux terminal, or we can run that. So you can verify that the Git version. Yes, Git is installed. Yes, this is the version of this Git bash. And the Vagrant is installed on this machine or not? How to verify it? The Vagrant is not the GUI based. The VirtualBox, okay, we are opening and yes, we are able to see this VirtualBox is installed or not. We are opening that this is a GUI based. Too many other virtual machines. But if you are talking about the DevOps you need automation approach, right? Instead of doing the manual, we need to do that either through command at least. If you're able to do the command, that command you can write it in the script and you can automate it through the script. At least the command based required. But VirtualBox is, yes, that is GUI based. We don't want to directly work with that. The VirtualBox. Yes, the VirtualBox is ready. And Git bash, yes, I'm able to access it. This is the version of the Git bash. And what is the third software which we need to check it? The Vagrant. So you can verify this the Vagrant is installed or not by using that Vagrant ---- version. Yes, if you get this message, then Vagrant is installed on this machine. Or if you face that Vagrant command not found, then think of it Vagrant is installed on that machine or not. Yeah, now the Git bash we are using to evaluate it Vagrant is installed or not. Yeah, 3 softwares are ready. VirtualBox we have installed and we have verified. And Git is installed, the Git bash, yes. So we got that Git bash terminal. And Vagrant is also installed and this is a Vagrant version. So we are happy with the 3 softwares. But what next? Now my requirement is I would like to launch that the virtual machine, the CentOS 7 or CentOS 8, whatever you prefer it. That virtual machine I would like to launch it on this virtualization software. So let's take it like a CentOS 7 or CentOS 8, whatever you need it, that you can find it. So to launch the virtual machine, next thing is Vagrant box. We need to identify that ISO image. We will download it, right? Instead of downloading ISO image, now what is the software or what is the box that is required is, let's go to the Vagrant documentation. So what is the official site of the Vagrant is vagrantup.com. Vagrantup.com. So here you can start with the documentation, get started how to use this Vagrant, and you can download this. Yes, already we have downloaded and we have installed the Vagrant. And now the third one, you see this the box, Vagrant box. It is like as AMI, how we are going to search it about that AMI while launching that EC2 instance. So there we talked about it machine image, but here we talk it as a Vagrant terminology point of a Vagrant box. In the normal the virtualization concept of that, to launch the virtual machine, ISO image we'll call it. This is a template. Yes, you can find the boxes to launch the virtual machine. Yeah, that is called Vagrant boxes. It is like as you are searching AMI, right? Which AMI is required. So the same thing here, you can find it which Vagrant box that do you want to use it to launch the virtual machine. So if you need that, the CentOS, yes, you can search for the CentOS. AMIs also, we have the public AMIs. So many public AMIs you can find it. Here also, yes, you can find it so many that like CentOS related images. And you see this is the CentOS 8, CentOS 7.1, CentOS 6.5, CentOS 6, CentOS 7.2. Yes, different versions of that. The Vagrant boxes are available. But we are launching this Vagrant box on which virtualization software? VirtualBox, right? If you are going to look into that, especially VirtualBox, yes, you can find it. VirtualBox supported the Vagrant boxes. Or if you are using the VMware supported the Vagrant boxes. Yeah, so this one is supporting, or you go for any, or you can see here. Let me search for that CentOS 7. Yeah, this is a generic one and CentOS 7, and it is supporting on the Hyper-V, the virtualization libraries, VirtualBox, VMware Desktop, and parallel boot up system. So a generic CentOS 7.9 image ready for use it as an appliance or a development environment. Yes, this is all especially for the development environment. We don't use it. These boxes for the production. So if you would like to do some R&Ds quickly to launch it to the virtual machine, then you can use it to this Vagrant boxes. And you can see how many downloads this box has been downloaded and when it was recently updated. Yeah, once box, suppose if you need that Ubuntu, yes, you can find it that Ubuntu over here. Like AMI, how you are searching, you can search it, the which type of that OS related Vagrant box that's we need it. You can find it that the particular box. And this is a Trusty 64. That means a 14.04. Ubuntu 14.04, we'll call it as a Trusty 64. And Ubuntu 12.04, which we'll call it as a Precise 64. And Xenial 64, this is the 16.04 version of that Ubuntu. Like that latest Ubuntu version 20.04, 20 point some X is also available, which you can find that box on the base of the version which is required, and you can go for that using that box to launch the virtual machine. Okay, now I would like to launch that CentOS system. And okay, let me take it the CentOS 7. So this is the official image from the CentOS team itself. So once image or Vagrant box has been identified, just select that box which you would like to use it. Then how to use this box with the Vagrant? So you can take this block of the code and you can create one file, Vagrant file, and just add this code in that one Vagrant file and use that Vagrant command to launch the virtual machine. Or So use these two commands to launch the virtual machine. Simple. Now I need to launch this with this CentOS 7. What I can do? Let me take it this block of the code, the first command, and let's open this git bash terminal. Yeah, this is my git bash terminal, and where you would like to create that. So first, don't do this in the local, user home directories. Let me go back to that. I would like to use it something E drive. Yes, within that E drive, I have that workspace something. Yes, I have the workspace. So how do we use it? The file system is, you see that, observe that CD and the first drive name, C drive or D drive, E drive, with the forward slash, which we need to use it. Forward slash, that is root, as we know that. And then a drive name, then within that drive directories. So in my E drive, there all the directories are available. So I'm going to use it some workspace directory. So now I'm in that E drive workspace. So if you just talk it like a file system point of view, I'm in the E drive workspace folder. But how do you access the file system on the git bash? Use that root, then drive name, then within the drive folder. Here I would like to create one directory for about our batch. There is batch 38. So I would like to use this directory to create my Vagrant file. So take this one directory, whatever the directory you prefer it. So go to this directory and you can or simply, what is that one more thing which we can do is, suppose if I open that about your folder, suppose if you go to that about your the file explorer, and which drive do you want to access that, the go to about your drive. Yeah, in this PC, the which drive? E drive. Within that E drive, I have the workspace, and within that, the we have created bash 38. This is the directory. So go to about your Windows file system or right click off it, and here you can see this. Open the git bash here. This option. You can directly use this. You can open this about your file explorer and go to that where you want to create a Vagrant the file. Yes, go to the directory and right click off it and git bash here. Then which starts the git bash. So this is one more approach which you can use it directly, this approach. Are you getting the points of it? Or you can directly access about it. Open the git bash and then you can go to this like this and you can access about your the file system. Are you getting familiar with that? The git bash terminal. Yeah, now I'm in that batch 38 directory. So here I don't have those any files. But what is the command? Simple, go back to this the Vagrant upside. And what is the command? This is a command, right? The Vagrant init. Yes, Vagrant init command. So what this Vagrant init is going to do is, I don't want to use this terminal. So I would like to just run this command. Vagrant already we have installed and we are able to run the command, and init and box name. This is the box name, Vagrant box CentOS /7. If you run this, so what it is going to do is, in which directory we are running, in that directory it is going to create a one file. Yeah, a new version of the Vagrant is available. That's fine, 2.219, but we have installed 2.214. That's fine, no issues. And here you see this message, a Vagrant file has been placed in this current directory. Now if you just observe this in the current directory, Vagrant file has been created. Okay, forget about it. What is the content it is there in that. Then to launch the virtual machine, So what is the command which you can use? It is next command is vagrant init, and what is the next command is vagrant up. So this command is going to helpful to launch the virtual machine. Simple command. Now if you go back to this the terminal, and wherever that vagrant file is located, in that location, in that current directory, you can run it vagrant up. So whenever we run this vagrant up, then what it is going to do is whatever the box we have specified. So here the CentOS 7, that vagrant box which will be downloaded if it is the first time. Yes, it takes some time. That is on the base of the network bandwidth. Yeah, it will be downloaded this box, and using this box it is going to try to launch the virtual machine on the virtual box. Now let me open that virtual box. Now you see this one virtual machine has been launched here. It has been created, the batch 38, that is the directory, and you see this the status also starting and running. So we didn't do any manual activity on this virtual box. So we are doing everything through the Vagrant. So what it is doing? It is launching that one virtual machine. Normally what do we need to do? The new, go to here and define this name, and then where do you want to launch this machine, then define the folder, then which type of the OS is that, then find it about that, the OS. Suppose if you give that the Linux based, then you can find that Linux. Yes, do you want to launch the Debian based or like Linux based or Red Hat? Yes. The which one do you want to launch it? That you need to select it, then go for the next and specify that the memory, then go for this next and choose that like a disk drive or disk file, that is ISO image file. So with all that you need to define it. This is a manual step, but we didn't use it any manual step. We run two commands: vagrant init, the box name, which image is required, and vagrant up. Yes, up is going to take care of that launching the virtual machine. Now the virtual machine is ready. So even you don't need to open this one, you can just close this one. The background that is going to take care of it. So now if you just observe the here, bringing the machine default up with VirtualBox provider and importing the base box CentOS 7 and matching the MAC address for the NAT networking and checking that if box CentOS 7 version is up to date available or not, and setting the name of the virtual machine. Yes, this is the name it is setting that, and preparing the network interfaces and port forwarding options and booting the virtual machine. But what is that? The default username and password is available. Default username is Vagrant and password is also Vagrant. Any Vagrant box you are taken that. So normally we are getting that EC2 user for about our AMI, Amazon Linux AMI2, right? EC2 is a default user like that. For about our Vagrant boxes, what is the default username is Vagrant, and the password is also Vagrant. Username and the password both are the same, but it is using the SH key as well as the background. Yeah, the final ID has been launched the complete virtual machine with a simple one command. But how do I connect it, or how do I access the system now? Yes, now we are in the same directory wherever the Vagrant file is located. Now if you verify this, the hidden directory, the background, it is created one .vagrant folder. Here it is managed that all the keys which are required to log into this virtual machine. You don't need to know about the IP address also to connect it to this virtual machine, but we can define it. IP address also we can define it. This will come back. But wherever the Vagrant file is located, so go to the directory. So use that the Vagrant SSH, Vagrant init, downloading that, creating a Vagrant file, then Vagrant app. It is reading that the Vagrant file and it is launching the virtual machine on the virtual box. And Vagrant SH, yes, we are connecting to that the virtual machine. which is launched on the virtual box. Yes, now I am in that. So which virtual machine? Yes, so that is in that, like sorry, okay, I have just closed that, the virtual box software. Let me open that. So Vagrant SH we have done is nothing but now we have connected to this virtual machine which is up and running. Everything we are doing there's a backend through the commands, right? Are you getting the points on this? Yeah, now we have connected to the system and you can run this like the commands which are required. Yeah, this is the CentOS Linux 7 and the minor this is a major version. And what is about the minor version? The CentOS Linux release 7.8. Yes, this is the release version of it. And what is the host name? The host name, all these things if you would like to define. Now we can work with the Vagrant file as well as. So we can open that Vagrant file and we can define the custom properties. But what about the Vagrant file? That will come back later. But just try to understand it, how it has been simplified launching the virtual machine on the virtualization software using Vagrant. The host name of the system, yes, by default it is coming with the local host, but we can define that host names also for this. And if config, if we verify, so that package is not installed, and let me use it hostname -i. Yeah, so this is a private IP address which is defined only internal, but you cannot access that outside. But we can create network interface to get that internet as well as. So is it having the internet now? So let me update the system. So use that sudo. So now we are working with the Vagrant user. He is a sudo user. How we have EC2 user in our Linux, in our the EC2 instances. So the Vagrant is the default user. Yeah, so we are going to get it by default this internet as well as. So that is a NAT interface it is using to share that the network interface from the host machine. That is a Windows, whatever the network we have, the same network it is sharing to the virtual machine. And we didn't do that any explicit configuration, just a Vagrant init, box name Vagrant up, and Vagrant sh we have connected. Okay, that's about how do we create a Vagrant file with the required box, and how do we launch the virtual machine. That's a Vagrant app. And how do you connect it to the system? There's a Vagrant sh. There are the Vagrant commands. So it is taking that update time. Now I would like to stop this system. How do I stop this? Or I would like to do this like terminating this virtual machine from the virtualization software. Normally, how do you terminate it? Or how do you start it, stop it? So if you go to the virtualization software, there's a virtual box. So here you can select the right click of this machine and you can do that like the power off, that is shutting down. And once it has been shutting down, and you can start once again. Or if you'd like to remove it, yes, this virtual machine I don't want to hear, so you can stop it and then you can remove it. That is a remove option, but now it is not enabled because this is up and running. You can stop it, and after stopping you can remove it. But how do I do? I don't want to do manually this. I don't want to come to here and yes, once my virtual machine activities are done, I would like to terminate through the script itself. Script, if you like to do that, at least command we need to have. What is a command? That's to halt the system, that is stopping the system of this virtual machine on the virtualization software using Vagrant. Or what is a command? To terminate this machine from the virtualization software. Yeah, command is the same whether you are working for the VMware or VirtualBox. The Vagrant commands are the same. Now, if you go back to this, the update is happening. This right? Still, it's going on. So I don't want this update. Okay, let me cancel that. It doesn't work. Fine, let's wait the 2 minutes. So overall, what we have done, if you just understand it, installed 3 softwares: VirtualBox, Vagrant software, Git Bash. And after that, we have opened that the Git Bash and a Vagrant init with the box name and a Vagrant app. Machine is ready. Then we have connected and we are doing that operation, that is updating or whatever you would like to do, this installing HTTP service, or yes, you can do about your activities. And then how do we stop it and how do we terminate it? Let's talk at those points. Those 2 more commands on this Vagrant. The update is done. Let me exit from here this machine. That means I have disconnected from that machine. But still virtual machine is up and running. How do we know that the status of the virtual machine is Vagrant status? If we just run this Vagrant status, so that's going to helpful that this, in the current directory, what all the Vagrant file we have, it is reading the Vagrant file, and this is the current machine and status is running. Or you can, on which provider it is running, VirtualBox. Suppose in my system, VMware is installed and VirtualBox is installed. Let's talk about it. But whenever I run it Vagrant up, is it going to launch the virtual machine on the VMware or VirtualBox? On which virtualization software it is going to launch it? In my system, I have installed only VirtualBox. I didn't install the VMware. That's why whenever I run it Vagrant up, yes, this machine has been taken and it has been launched on the VirtualBox. But if you have those like 2 softwares you have installed, VMware you have installed and VirtualBox you have installed, then what is the command is Vagrant up, and you need to explicitly specify that on which provider that you want to launch it. Hyphen provider VirtualBox, or if it's the VMware. But in my system, I have installed only VirtualBox. That's why even if I don't specify this provider also, yes, it is working, launching that virtual machine on the VirtualBox. Yeah, just observe that Vagrant up. Anyway, that machine is up and running. But with the provider, how do we specify that? Yes, now the bringing the machine default up with the VirtualBox provider. If you have this, or if you would like to launch it on the VMware, then the provider would be VMware. Even you can launch the virtual machine on AWS also using Vagrant. Yes, you can launch the virtual machine on the AWS account using Vagrant, or you can terminate it, that virtual machine, using that Vagrant also. That is AWS provider. You can just find it in the Google. How do you launch that, or how do I use the Vagrant to launch the virtual machine on EC2 with the Vagrant? Yeah, there are the different providers like VirtualBox, the VMware, AWS is one kind of the provider. Yes, there are different providers. The fine Vagrant app, yes, it is saying about it machine is already running. That's fine. And the status, yes, that is running. Now I would like to stop this virtual machine. Yes, what is the command to stop it is Vagrant halt. Vagrant halt, that is to stop the virtual machine. Now if you go back to this virtualization software, there's a VirtualBox, and you see this status automatically here. Now it is running, and if you wait some time, then it is going to mark like as a powered off. As you see, automatically powered off. So we are not doing any manual things in this VirtualBox. That's the main thing. I don't want to come to here and right click it, then start this. No, I don't want that. So we are doing everything through the back end. But can we manage it only one virtual machine from the one Vagrant file? Or can we launch it multiple virtual machines using one Vagrant file? The beauty is multiple virtual machines you can manage it through Vagrant file. That is the next concept. How do we use that Vagrant file to launch multiple virtual machines? Suppose I need to launch it one virtual machine for the Tomcat and I need to launch it another virtual machine for the database, MySQL. Two virtual machines required for the developer. One is where he is going to run that Tomcat server and another one where he is going to use the database, but on the same Windows system. He doesn't want that remote systems. Or if you are going to use it EC2, that will be cost, right? Yeah, so on the developer system and with this Vagrant, that's the beauty of it. You can save the some price of it. On the development system, why do you want that? The EC2 instances. The same with the EC2 instance, whatever you can do with Vagrant on the virtual machine. But how do we implement multiple virtual machines on the Vagrant file? That is tomorrow we'll try to understand it. There is extension of this Vagrant file, but today we are understanding. So how to launch the virtual machine and how to create a Vagrant file. How do we launch that the virtual machine using Vagrant file? That is Vagrant app. And how to connect to the virtual machine? That's a Vagrant SH. And how to check the status of the virtual machine? There's a Vagrant status. And how do we launch the virtual machine on the particular provider? That is Vagrant app -- provider, the provider name. And how do we stop the virtual machine? That is a Vagrant halt. There are the commands from the Vagrant. And finally, I would like to remove that virtual machine from the virtual box. Okay, my activities are done. I don't need that virtual machine. If you keep it that virtual machine on the virtual box, it is using the back and some amount of the disk space, right? Yeah, the file system it is using on the Windows. Yeah, I don't need this space using that. I don't need this virtual machine. My activities are done. Then simple Vagrant destroy. Vagrant halt, stopping the machine. Vagrant destroy, that is removing that virtual machine. Remove option, whatever we are trying to understand it, the remove option is going to do that by the Vagrant. Yeah, now we are trying to remove this one. So we'll come back once it has been confirmed. So let me. Yeah, the next DevOps, any activities like Maven, these kind of activities, whenever you are using. So you don't need to use it with the AWS account. If you have the fear of the prices and all this, then use this Vagrant. Quickly launch it and log in it and install the Tomcat and practice it on about your system itself. So Vagrant destroy. So it is asking the confirmation. Are you sure you want to destroy this virtual machine? Yes. If you confirm that virtual machine from the Vagrant software, that will be deleted. Yes, now that's gone. There is no more about it that. So are you getting the concepts of this, the Vagrant commands? First we should do Vagrant halt, then after we use it Vagrant destroy. Yeah, that is recommended as a graceful shutdown of the system. Or directly you can do the destroy also. Then it is going to forcefully stopping the machine and cleaning that virtual machine from the virtualization software. That's a forcefully we can say. Directly also you can use the destroy, but halt it and destroy it. If two VMs are available executing Vagrant app, which machine will start it? Yes, while starting about it, you can pass the argument about the virtual machine name. So if you have the two virtual machines, yeah, we can specify the Vagrant app and particular machine name as well as. That's we'll talk it tomorrow. Yeah, two virtualization software. That's what VMware is installed on about your system, and VirtualBox is installed on the your system, the Windows system. Then that virtual machine which you are planning to launch it on which provider does you want to launch it, there you can use the provider concept. But if I'm having this in the Vagrant file, like that's like, let's talk it Jenkins master I have defined and Jenkins slave I have defined, but I need to start it only Jenkins master. I don't want to start the Jenkins slave. Then how I can use it the Vagrant to manage it, like starting that the only the master in the Vagrant app, and you can pass the Jenkins master is the name. Then only that machine which will be launched. If you don't specify the machine name, then it is going to read the Vagrant file. In that Vagrant file, what all the machines you have defined, the Jenkins master, Jenkins slave, all that will be started. No, machine name is here, that is a logical name to identify that. Machine name is not the host name. The machine name is different and host name is the different. Machine name is to manage through the Vagrant. Host name is that is network level to connect it. Okay, are you clear on these points on this Vagrant? The very good tool and which we should know thus. Whenever we need that virtual machine, don't think that always the easy to instance, and this is one of the solution. As a DevOps engineer, whenever we are doing R&Ds, quickly you need to work it on the Ubuntu. Don't look it about it AWS account. Yes, find that Vagrant box for the Ubuntu. Vagrant init with the box name, Vagrant up. Within the 2 minutes, the machine is ready in your system itself. But you should have, yes, like at least 8 GB of the system. That's you can manage it multiple virtual machines. But if you have the 4 GB, by default, this virtual machine is going to use it. So there is, if you verify this Vagrant file, it is going to use it around 512 MB. With that 512 MB, it is going to launch the virtual machine. But we can specify that explicitly how much memory is required for the virtual machine. Yeah, that is some points I will talk it tomorrow on this Vagrant file. How do we define this the IP address to connect it to this machine? And then like how do we define this the file synchronization between the host machine to that the guest OS, and how do we define this memories, and even that GUI is also required. Yes, if you need the GUI from this virtual machine, yes, you can enable the GUI, but the GUI is not recommended. And as we have that user data while launching the EC2 instance, during the boot up, what are the commands we have to execute it? So user data we are using this, right? The same concept that is available here also, thus we can say the provisioning concept is while boot up this system, if you would like to run it installing that packages or yes, like starting the services, you can define that Linux commands and you can enable this block of the code. The user data how we have for the EC2, this is a provisioning concept, we call it from the Vagrant. That's we will talk it tomorrow. Yeah, that's all from my side. Understanding Vagrant, how do we set up and how do we use it, and how do we launch the virtual machine on the virtual box. Use the virtual box, don't use the VMware. VMware is a license required to launch it, so go for this virtual box. There's an open source one. And commands, the 4 or 5 commands we need to remember it: Vagrant up, Vagrant halt, Vagrant destroy, Vagrant sh to connect to the system, and Vagrant init to create that Vagrant file with that virtual box, and Vagrant status. Yeah, there are some commands from the Vagrant. Now if I take it these commands and if I define in one shell script, and if I run that this command in the shell script through the scheduler, then during the particular time when it has to be launched the virtual machine, when it has to be halted the virtual machine, we can manage it, right? If you are able to run through the command, then you can automate it through the script. Command, go for this with the script. The Vagrant up, launch the machine, and evening you need to destroy it, Vagrant destroy it. So there is no manual activity which is involved. That is one beauty. And once the Vagrant file is defined, You can share that all the developers the same Vagrant file. That's going to help all the developers. They are going to use the same environment, right? The Vagrant file, once it has been defined, we'll share it to the Vagrant file to all the developers. First download this Vagrant file and go for this Vagrant app. Yes, all the developers are going to have the same kind of the configuration with the same kind of that virtual yes, the boxes with the provisioning concept. Yeah, the same environment on the multiple machines, you can manage that. Yeah, this is another solution on premises point of view. The cloud we are using, mostly we go for the EC2, but on premises, if you would like to manage it for the development environments, yes, Vagrant is one of the best tool. Yeah, that's all. Thank you. Tomorrow we'll meet it and we'll talk about the Vagrant file, and we start from the Monday onwards about that DevOps. Thank you. Thank you all. And this lab guide is there. That's I will share it, and which you can practice on it. That the one forum, the lab guide, I will share it on it.